Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Survivor Talks with Mike. Today we will be covering episode 2 of season 41, Juggling Chainsaws. This will be another podcast style discussion, recap, review, and predictions. Let's jump right into the recap. So we start the episode off at the Ua Tribe. JD and Ricard go for water, and Brad decides that he's going to tail them there, or beat them there by taking the beach and sprinting over to the water, and hiding in a bush there so he can spy on them and listen to what they're talking about. He overhears them talking about the other guy in the tribe, which is him. And he takes that as he can't trust them. He's suspicious of them. And then he books it back to the camp, hoping that it means no harm, no foul. Like he didn't get caught. They won't even know that he heard them. But he sprinted off right in front of the rest of the tribe. So Shan seen him and asks him like, "Oh, what were they saying?" And he says that he'd tell her later. But then Shan goes and talks to Ricard and tells Ricard that Brad was spying on them, and Ricard kind of gets defensive and says that, "Oh, we weren't talking about him." He realizes that this means that Brad is playing the game. Up to this point, he thought that Brad was just kind of taking this old school approach, just try to keep the tribe strong and do good in the challenges. But it turns out he is actually trying to do a little bit more, trying to do the Tony Vlacho style game, spying on people, running around energetically. But he's not being very subtle, and that kind of puts a target on his back. We then go to the Luvu tribe, where Deshawn is trying to make a fire, but he's struggling. Nasir hops in and makes the fire right away. We get a little bit of his background, that he came from a home without any electricity, and they had to provide for themselves back in Sri Lanka. Um, and we see that he's very good and capable at providing for the camp, and he's very well liked because of his enthusiasm and his hard work ethic. So it makes people want to keep him around longer. Then we go to the Yasa Tribe, where Tiffany is struggling. She says everyone's in bad shape, but we see that she's like nearly passing out on the rocks. Then we see Xander go off and find the Beware advantage. This is the new twist advantage. It has a warning on it, and it says that if you take this, you will have to suffer the consequences. Like the effects of it are on you. If you don't want to take that risk, put it back where you found it. And he decides to take the risk, and he opens it up, and he finds out that it's a hidden immunity idol, but it isn't activated until each tribe has found theirs. And the way that they can find that out is by, at the challenges, saying a secret phrase, and then if the other tribe responds with their secret phrase, then it'll become activated once all three are activated. Um, but until that point, Xander doesn't get to vote. So it's really just a disadvantage right now until the other tribes can find their advantage. He decides to tell Liana and Tiffany about his advantage. Or no, it was Evie and Voce that he tells the other two, uh, that until the other two are found, he has no vote. Evie doesn't want to be at the end with men, so then she goes off and tells Liana and Tiffany about Xander's advantage and that he also has an extra vote. So this paints a big target on Xander because he has the most advantages right now, and that makes him dangerous. We then go to the immunity challenge, uh, where Xander says his phrase. He has to say that butterflies are dead relatives, just saying hello or something along those lines. No one else has their advantage, so no one responds, and they all kind of have like an awkward laugh about it, but they move on because Xander actually did a pretty good job of weaving it into the conversation. So then we go on to the immunity challenge, which is one person swims across uh, this distance, and then two other people have to go through that same distance, but they have to go through obstacles on the way, um, through a net and then over a balance beam. And then once they get through, then the final two people get to do a puzzle at the end. Uh, there's actually going to be two tribes getting immunity this time instead of only one. Luvu, they dominate. They make it safe all the way through, which means that they once again aren't going to tribal council. The Ua tribe gets through the obstacles pretty quickly, but they struggle on the puzzle for a while. And the Yasa tribe gets stuck on the balance beam because of Tiffany not being able to make it over. She tries quite a few times before finally getting through. Um, Liana then rips through the course, but then Voce and Evie couldn't solve the puzzle fast enough. Luvu gets to choose one person from Yasa and one person from either their own tribe or from Ua to go on a journey. They choose Evie from Yasa, and then Deshawn volunteers from Luvu to go. Uh, we then see the Yasa tribe. Tiffany is at fault for costing them the challenge, but feels comfortable because of her alliance with Evie and Liana. Voce talks to Liana about taking out Tiffany to keep the tribe stronger, but she still wants to get out Xander um, because he's dangerous with his advantages. Tiffany is starting to get paranoid and possibly took Voce wanting her out personally, uh, but she's still scared of Xander having an idol. Um, we then go to the hike where uh, we get to learn a little bit more about Deshawn. We find out that he's hardworking and has had great values instilled in him, which has allowed him to become a doctor. Evie sees the writing on the wall for the Yasa tribe and is completely willing to work with Deshawn once they get to the merge, or if there's a tribe swap. She tells him that she will protect her vote so he can risk his. Evie gives Deshawn a lot of information about Xander's advantages and about what's going on in their tribe, but she doesn't give him anything directly important to her. Just throws her tribe mates under the bus to try to gain some trust with Deshawn. Once we go to the Yasa tribe again, Evie comes back and tells everyone that she protected her vote. The guys are going for Tiffany, the girls are going for Xander, but Tiffany really doesn't understand how the idol works and is scared of voting for Voce or of voting for Xander and having him pull out the idol. Uh, but as we know that his idol isn't activated yet and he doesn't even have a vote right now, we get a confessional from Tiffany where she says that I might be one of those dumb survivor players that you see on TV, where you know that they're making a wrong decision right now. And she kind of is. Like, she says that they have to vote for Voce because it's the only way to keep her safe from the idol being played, which we all know isn't the case. And I have a feeling that them showing that confessional means that that might come back to bite her later on. We go to tribal council. Jeff explains what the stakes are for some reason. We get an intro to the tribal council. Voce gets to give a little bit of his background, and then Xander talks about how whatever keeps you alive for the next day is what should be focused on. And I think he's right with this being a shorter season and with all the new twists being thrown at them. I don't think they can make long term plans. They have to just kind of do what will keep them alive for now. Voce is then voted out 3-1. Xander still has no vote. Um, as for the review for this, overall, I think the episode was fine. There were a few issues I had with it. Firstly, the edit is very heavily on the Yasa tribe right now, so it makes it tough to tell if these people are important to the overall story or if we're just spending as much time with them as we can right now before their tribe gets completely wiped out. They could be like the Mat Singh tribe from Philippines that were taken down to only 2 castaways left, but then those 2 make it all the way to the final 4. Or they could be like the Oolong tribe from Palau that lost every challenge and were eventually just wiped out. There would there were also some weird inclusions in the episode, like a slow-mo shot on Tiffany as she crawls across the balance beam. It felt kind of unnecessary. Uh, Also, Jeff explaining what was at stake before the tribal council was a little bit weird and unnecessary. It felt like he was talking down to the audience. Uh, the new Beware advantage also seems like more of a disadvantage, and with Deshaun knowing about it, uh, they could play that against Xander and just keep him from ever getting a vote because they know not to ever grab the Beware advantage. But at least there was a warning on it, so he knew that there was going to be a consequence when he took it. I'd give this episode a 5 out of 10. It's not necessarily bad, but it wasn't as great of a follow up to the opening, I thought. My predictions going forward, like I said, I'm not really sure what the edit is trying to tell us about the Yasa tribe. They could be very important, or they could be all getting wiped out. Um, Such as it is, I have to read it for what they're showing us, and that is that Yasa is important right now. Uh, so previously, I had Evie, Voce, and Shan as front runners. Obviously, Voce is no longer in the running. Evie is setting herself up pretty good in this episode. She now has the majority alliance in her tribe, and she has a potential alliance with Deshaun down the road. And she gained a lot of information about the idols and the advantage slash disadvantage associated with it. She's still a front runner in my opinion, and could have that under the radar game that takes her to the end, similar to Denise in Philippines. I could see her overly wanting to work only with women costing her at some point, but she seems smart enough to know when she can work with men and when she wants to stick with the women. Uh, Shan didn't get too much in this episode, but we did see her still having a strong alliance with Ricard, and Brad seems to at least trust her somewhat to be able to be giving away that he's spying on Ricard and JD to her. Some other people that got significant moments in this episode were Xander, Tiffany, Brad, Deshaun, and Nasir. Xander and Tiffany are in the Yasa tribe, so they had to be pretty involved in this episode. Xander is in a bad place right now because his tribe is against him, and his advantage is really a disadvantage. His best hope is for either the other tribes to find their advantage or for there to be a tribe swap. Um, Tiffany is in strong with her alliance, and Evie might be wanting to drag her to the end since it doesn't seem like she can win. Uh, but trying to play with someone like that and pull them along can be pretty difficult, and it could blow up in her face because she might do something unpredictable um, just out of nowhere, just based on how she's been acting. Uh, and also, I don't think that Tiffany has any chance of winning based on how they've been showing her questioning uh, the idol and saying that this might be a stupid play, what she's doing. I don't think they would say that or show that unless it is going to turn out to be a stupid idea. Um, and I think it could mean that Xander does get his immunity idol activated and uses it to vote out Tiffany. Um, Brad was fun in this episode. We got to see a little bit more of him at the start, but it also put a target on his back because he wasn't very subtle. I think he's going to be fun to watch throughout, but I don't see him as the winner. He could make it to the merge and then get voted out sometime early into the merge. Um, but I definitely don't see him as a winner. Deshaun got some moments today, or in this episode. Uh, he got great information from Evie, and he has a potential alliance there, but we know that Evie doesn't want to work with the men in the end. She doesn't want to get all the way to the tribal council and have a man be there with her. Uh, so knowing that, it might not be a great idea for going with that alliance, but for right now, he knows that that is a potential route for him to take. We also got a little bit from Nasir. He seems to be well liked, but he still hasn't gotten enough to say that he is a contender. He didn't have too much other than just at the opening of this episode. After episode 2, my favorite to win is still Shan, but Evie is looking like she's in a pretty good spot right now. I'm looking forward to the next episode and to see where we end up now. Obviously, my one of my predictions got ruined with Voce getting voted out today, or in this episode, I mean. But we'll see going forward what's next. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.